Hey everybody! Today we're going to continue with rational number operations. So I need you to make sure that your Edpuzzle notes look like mine. These will go in your folder when you finish, and then you're going to work on your practice problems. So we're going to go ahead and start with number 1. Members of the chess club held a bake sale to raise money. Cupcakes and cookies were sold. Cupcakes were sold for $1 each. Cookies were sold for 50 cents each. The members sold a total of 288 items. Of the items sold, 2/3 were cupcakes and the remaining items were cookies. How much money did the chess club members raise from cookies that were sold? So what we're going to need to do is we're going to keep working with strip diagrams. So I have my total strip diagram, and it says total of 288 items. So that's going to go in my diagram. And the next thing, it says 2/3 were cupcakes. So my bottom section, when we're trying to figure out how many pieces to break it up into, we look at that denominator, and that denominator is 3. So I'm going to break this up into 3 sections. Now, this is a picture of 288 broken up into 3 sections. So to figure out how much one section is worth, we are going to need to divide. So we're going to take our 288, and there's 3 sections, so we're going to divide it by 3. So when I start looking through this, 3 cannot go into 2, but 3 does go into 28. 3 goes into 28 9 times. 9 times 3 is 27. 28 minus 27 is 1, and I bring down the 18, or the 8 to make 18. 3 goes into 18 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18, and I have no remainder. So that tells me that each square is going to be worth 96 cupcakes. Okay? So 2/3 were cupcakes. That means this section was cupcakes, and this section was cupcakes. The remaining items were cookies. So that means this leftover part is my cookies. How much money did the chess members raise from cookies? So we sold 96 cookies sold. And this problem tells me that cookies were 50 cents each. So what I can do with that is I can do 96 times 50 cents. 6 times 0 is 0. 9 times 0 is 0. Bring down a 0. 6 times 5 is 30. 9 times 5 is 45, plus 3 is 48. When I add that up, I get 4,800, and I have 1 space, 2 spaces behind the decimal, so I'm going to move it 2 times. So that tells me that the chess club raised $48 selling cookies. Okay. The next problem we're going to do says Fatima paid for 5 pallets of grass to be delivered. Each pallet of grass costs $129.95. Fatima paid $76.20 for delivery. What is the total amount Fatima paid? So the first thing that I want to do is I want to find out how much the pallets were. So I can take 129.95 and I can multiply it by 5. All right, because there's 5 pallets and each one costs $129.95. 5 times 5 is 25. 9 times 5 is 45, plus 2 is 47. 9 times 5 is 45, plus 4 is 49. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14. And 1 times 5 is 5, plus 1 is 6. And then I have 1, 2 behind the decimal, so 1, 2. So the pallets were $649.75, but she did get these delivered and she had to pay $76.20 for the delivery. So when we multiplied the decimal, we did not line up the decimals. But when we add that delivery cost, we do need to line up the decimals. So when we add or subtract decimals, we need to line up the decimals. 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 plus 6 is 15. 4 plus 7 is 11. Plus 1 is 12. And 6 plus 1 is 7. So in total told me to add, I had Fatima paid $725.95. So when I look at my answer choices, I should pick answer choice A. All right. We have one more problem that we need to go ahead and work. A student ran a distance of 3.5 miles each day for 5 days. Then the student ran a distance of 4.25 miles each day for the next 5 days. What is the total distance in miles the student ran during these 10 days? So I have 3.5 miles for 5 days. So I can do 3.5 times 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this. I know that 1/2 is the same thing as 3.5 times 5. So I'm going to turn this first one into a decimal to remind you that we do not need to line up the decimals when we multiply. So 3.5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 3 times 5 is 15. Plus 2 is 17. And we need to remember to put that decimal back in. It's 1 time. So for the first 5 days, the student ran 17.5 miles. Okay. Now I need to do for the next 5 days. And it says 4.25. 4.25 times 5. Now to do this, I'm going to leave this one as a fraction so that we remember how to multiply that. And before I can do that, I need to turn this mixed number improper. So that's when we do 4 times 4 plus 1. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 plus 1 is 17 over 4. Now, I still need to turn this whole number 5 into a fraction. And to do that, I have to put a 1 under it. So 5 over 1. Now, for this, when we multiply fractions, we multiply across. All right? So I'm going to do 17 times 5 and then 4 times 1. So 17 times 5. 7 times 5 is 35. 1 times 5 is 5 plus 3 is 8. 85 over. And then 4 times 1 is 4. Now from here, I need to go ahead and turn it into a proper fraction. So remember that to do that, we need to divide. So 85 divided by 4. So 4 goes into 8 2 times. That is 8. Four goes into 5 1 time. Now, I have decimals that I'm working with here, so I'm going to keep going and I'm going to turn this into a decimal. So I'm going to add my decimal, add my 0. 4 goes into 10 2 times. 8. Add another 0. And 4 goes into 20 5 times. I was right. So this tells me that the first 5 days, the student ran 17.5 miles. And the next 5 days, the student ran 21.25 miles. And it's asking for a total, so I am going to add them up. And remember, when we add decimals, they do line up. And we're going to put in our filler 0. So I have 0 plus 5, 5 plus 2, bring down the decimal, 7 plus 1, and 1 plus 2 is 3. Now, even though we have a decimal, if I look at my answer choices, I only have one answer that has 38 as my whole number. But also, you should know that 0.75 is the same thing. It's equal to 3/4. That is a benchmark fraction. You should know that. So 38.75 is the same thing as 38 and 3/4. So your answer for this one should be G. So again, make sure your notes look exactly like mine. These are going to go in your folder. And then go ask the sub for the practice.